Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Geesley Eel. And in today's video we have to talk about the three episodes that aired tonight, or today I should say, of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So in this, we'll go into each of the episodes, talk about all the people that we saw, what might be happening in the future, and what's going on overall. One of the things that I want to talk about right away is the fact that I was wrong, that it was not the Scorcher, was the villain with the fire. His name was actually butane. I was wrong about that, but I mean it's a minor mistake. But I wanted to make it clear that I was wrong about that. So let's get right into the first episode of the three, which is where Norman basically explains that he wants to help Spider-Man out. He wants to be the one to kind of help Spider-Man be the greatest hero he can be. However, what happens is Peter Parker pretty much says no to him. So as things go on, he starts turning around, helping people and everything else. Um, he then faces off against two enhanced villains, um, and they're so we don't hear their name in the show, but it's said to be Speed Demon and the Tarantula. Um, and so the way their powers worked, she created like these laser arms that would be able to cut through anything, and then he had the speed. Now, the problem with their enhancements were that they couldn't be close to each other because it could cause a surge that destroys, excuse me, both of their equipment. So they keep themselves at bay, or away from each other, I should say. So they're able to take down Spider Man with ease, and they're beating him down pretty bad. They then start taking down SWAT members with ease, and that's when Norman Osborn decides to hack into Peter Parker's comm system where he's able to explain to him what to do. He's like, hey, you notice how they're not being near each other. You got to figure that out. Also, that somebody who's able to go with that speed, there's got to be some sort of visual or audio clue of him charging up to be able to, go super fast. So Spider-Man starts hearing like the energy boost up and is able to stop the two of them. He makes this massive like tripwire with his webbing, which then trips him. He snags Tarantula with his webs and smacks the two of them together with their webbing, and they short circuit each other's powers. Cops come in, they get arrested, everything else, and then at the end of the episode, it is Peter Parker explaining to Norman Osborn that he's thought long and hard about this, and clearly he does need the help. As much as he'd love to say that he could handle it on his own, he really can't, and really does need the help after all. So explains that he's going to actually team up with Norman Osborn to be able to be the good bad guy. No, I'm sorry, the good hero that he wants to. So, in this episode as well, we also had Lonnie having to go home because his mother was worried because his brother was in a gang called the 101 Street Gang. And that's when Lonnie decides that he's going to trade his spot, his brother's spot, for himself. Um, and, his brother tried to stop him, and Lonnie's like, no, I got this. I know what I'm doing. So they agree to that piece. So the second episode is Peter Parker and Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Norman Osborn all trying to figure out what they're going to do with. I know I made it seem like Peter Parker and Spider-Man were two different people, but figure out his suit. So he tries out a bunch of different suits, none of which being Spider-Man really. There was one where he's got a cape where he kind of looks like almost like an alien captain. He's got another one that looked like it had like a wasp looking thing. He had a bunch of different suits that just didn't look. One was like looking like a flying squirrel, but was black. It was or maybe like it's meant to be a bat. I'm not quite sure, but it was just not the greatest. And Norman kept trying to figure out the suit and everything else, like trying to get it where it was going to work out the way he wanted it to, and it clearly was not working out at all. While we go on to this episode two, we also find out that the Civil War for the heroes actually went on, and Peter Parker had nothing to do with it. And in fact, it was Iron Man versus Captain America still, and it looked like I'll say it like this: it looked like all the other Avengers were there because I could see Ant-Man, Winter Soldier, Captain America, Iron Man, and I think War Machine was grabbed by Ant-Man then. So we see all that going on, right? And obviously the Sokovia Accords were happening as well, which then implies that everything, to our knowledge, from Civil War back had already occurred. The difference here is Spider-Man never joined Iron Man, obviously. So anyway, we finally get the end of the episode. We actually get Spider-Man in a white and blue suit that actually looks pretty cool, and he loves it. So one of the big things too is when he was flying around in the black suit, he actually bumps into. He goes back into the Oscorp Tower and is like, "Oh, you don't know, Mr. Osborn. Like, I don't think the suit's gonna work. You gotta figure out something else." He takes off the mask and everything else, and Harry Osborn's there. And then Harry realizes who Spider Man is, which is Peter Parker, and realizes what's going on. And, Norman then creates or has the white Spider Man suit created, which looks very much like Future Foundation suit, um, which it's a very nice looking suit, I have to say. Um, but anyway, they then, that is the end of Spider Man's story there. So then we have Lonnie dealing with the gang because he's getting called by the Don all the time. Like almost, excuse me, like every single day he's being called and he's pretty much gets to sit there and do nothing. So at one point he gets told by Don to go get him tacos or get him Mexican food over on this street corner. He goes there and a bunch of the Scorpion gang is there. And he has to then he gets the order and gets the hell out of there and is being chased by a Scorpion member, and he runs is able to get on the subway without getting attacked, without getting hurt, and gets back to the base, and drops off the Mexican food, and he's like, "Hey, you know what, kid, you did good." He's like, "You set me up as a trap." He goes, "Yeah, now they know who you are, and to protect your family, you're gonna have to stay with us, or else your family's gonna die." And so he's not truly for it, but he's like, whatever, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. So that's kind of the end of that particular episode. No major villains in that one, if I can remember correctly. And then the next episode. Oh, was it this one? I can't even remember now. It's blowing my mind. But anyway, I'll talk about it in the third episode, as if it was the third episode, even if it might not have been. So in the next episode, we have these four Russians trying to steal a bunch of money so they can hire the inventor to get them the tech that they want to be able to. I don't want to phrase it. Basically, rob anywhere they want, I guess is the best way to describe that. So they decide to get this big score. They get chased by Spider-Man. But before all that happens, we have Peter Parker working with Harry Osborn because Harry is now part of Team Spider-Man. And the reason for it has to do with the fact that Norman has a job to do for his company. So he enlists his son to help out Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, with all the stuff. So they bond a little bit because they're both Captain America fans. Even though on paper, Captain America is the villain, although they agree with him. They then, he's starting to take out just bad guys left and right. He then finds out there's a robbery. He goes after them to try to stop them. He stops. I don't want to phrase this. He doesn't stop the truck or the van with the Russians in it. Because of the accident that they caused, they they caused like almost like not quite an explosion yet, but the idea was a massive 18-wheeler got hit, and the oil and the gas was kind of getting everywhere. So he was then en route to basically um, do the best that he can to kind of stop the fire and everything else. So he gets everyone out of all the vehicles before um, before it explodes. So he gets everyone out of there. He also finds out his suit is fireproof, which he's very happy about. Gets everyone out of there, there's an explosion and everything else. And then the cops take out all the Russians, or so they think. One of the Russians jumps out of the van, the big muscular one, and gets out of there and runs away. One of the guys, I believe, will eventually be the Rhino. However, the other three Russians get captured, and the Russian I don't want to say survived, because that's the word I want to do, but evaded capture, made it to the inventor, who is Dr. Otto Octavius, who gave her a advanced tech that gave her the ability to shoot a powerful laser from her forehead. And she was calling herself the Unicorn. So she was slicing through, she sliced through the jail that allowed her comrades to escape. And then that's when Peter Parker, or aka Spider-Man, goes out to try to stop her. And he's getting his butt kicked by her because she's using his willingness to want to help everyone against him, and was trying to attack innocent people to take advantage of the fact that he would do that and be distracted, and she go in for an attack. So this happens for a while, a lot of back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, she goes in and attacks her own guy, who is the one I think is going to be the Rhino. Blasts him. Spider-Man jumps in the way to stop the blast, protects the guy, and then that guy, before she tries to kill Spider-Man, he removes the helmet from her and is like, no, I'm not allowing this. And that's when Spider-Man takes the helmet away from her and him, and says thank you for the keepsake. He webs up her, and he explains to the guy, thank you, I owe you one. He's like, man, we're not friends. You saved my life, I saved yours, we're even, we're done. We'll never be friends. I gotta spend the rest of my life in prison, so thanks a lot. And that's how that part of the episode ends, except for Peter Parker realizing that he had a movie planned with his friend Nico, and invites Harry along with it. Nico's not thrilled with it, but they go to see the movie anyway as a trio. The part of this episode I didn't talk about was that Lonnie is getting stuck in the gang and is losing pretty much his entire life. He's missed a bunch of practices, unable to keep. It looks like he's not going to go into school all that much because the Don keeps calling him in, and that's when he basically has to do everything that the Don says, and because of that, missed a bunch of practices, and most likely will probably lose any scholarship chances he has in his ability to stay captain on the team. So they have an all-out fight between the 101 Street Gang and the Scorpions, and Lonnie really doesn't want to fight at all. And then during the fight, we have the guy who will become Scorpion, who looks exactly like the guy from Homecoming that we see in prison. He goes and ready to stab the Don and kill him. And that's when Lonnie jumps in, tackles him to the ground, and gets stabbed in the arm. And that's when Scorpion punches him in the face to get him off of him. And then the rest of the group has to disperse because the police come. So they all get out of there. Don is, super, oh my gosh, they're superstar. He's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what did I do now? And he's like, no, you saved my life. You were in cushion for me, but you saved my life. He goes, we got to come up with a good nickname for you. And they were trying to come up with a nickname, and they finally come up with Tombstone. So obviously he's going to be Tombstone, let's be honest, right? So he's going to be Tombstone, which we're not surprised about whatsoever. So that's the big thing. So he's going to become the Tombstone, obviously. We don't know how, but that's how he gets his name. And that's how the episode ends, and it shows kind of the fact of like Lonnie looking like he's happy to be a part of the crew, which is the first time we see that overall. So a lot of characters have been introduced. We seem to have a lot of people overall. I'm very curious to see where the rest of this series goes. We're going to get another 3 episodes next week. So I'm curious where that's going to be. Are we going to get a Scorpion? I mean, we know we get Scorpion at some point. So that'll be cool to see. Are we going to be seeing Tombstone in his full costume or powers, let's say? We're going to have to wait and see. But overall, it looks like the inventor is none other than Doc Ock, and he's going to eventually become himself as Dr. Octopus. But for now, I thought this was a great 3 episodes, to be honest with you. So let me know what you guys thought of these 3 episodes down in the comments below. Did you like them, did you not, and why? And as always, if you like the content you're seeing, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.